So we're going to go ahead and start here, just in respect of time to make sure we can get to any questions and stuff at the end of the night. Welcome to District 214's Information Technology and Cybersecurity, being hosted by myself. I'm going to be the moderator. Ms. Wicks is one allowing you guys in, but and what we're really going to do is kind of give you just a very in-depth insight into this pathway. And I'm going to do that with some great individuals that have helped us along the way. So real quick, my name is Seth Heddle. I'm the division head for career and technical education at Prospect High School. It's my second year, so I'm still learning a lot along the way with this. Some of our panelists is Nick Mazza, and Nick's going to go ahead and unmute himself and give you a little insight into why he's on here, and each individual will do that as we kind of go through that.
Thank you for that, Seth. I'm Nick Massa. I'm the technology infrastructure supervisor for District 214. We manage all sort of IT infrastructure, in anything from virtual machines to the network to storage, and now several network operations centers that we have not just within the district, but also in the cloud. I am also the supervisor of the Apprenticeship Program for cybersecurity, IT in general, which is a program that I'm thrilled to help with for the district and the students.
Thank you, Nick. Mm-hmm. Next is SD Williams. SD, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
There we go. I am SD. I am the owner and president of Danico Enterprises, which is a web and marketing firm in downtown Arlington Heights. Over the last, 4 or 5 years, I've been hosting District 214 interns and helping them understand some of the things that I learned along the way in creating and maintaining content management systems for websites, which basically are dynamic websites, and some of the other techniques I've learned along the way for some of the back-end technologies and other parts of technology that they might be interested as they start their education, their higher education and new careers.
Thank you. Next, we have one of our instructors, Mike Drent.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Drent. I've been teaching at Rolling Meadows now for, I think this is my 18th year. I've been teaching in IT for about 22, 23 years. I teach a lot of the hardware side of the IT. So I teach an IT fundamentals, A+ operating systems and hardware. I teach some networking, and then I also teach advanced networking, cybersecurity, along with some business courses at the school. So very nice to meet all of you, and look forward to answering some questions and giving you some information.
Awesome, Mike, thanks. Next, we have Tom Rose.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Rose, teacher at Buffalo Grove High School. I've been in the district here now since 2000, been teaching computer science and business education now for about 24 years. Some of the courses I teach are more on the computer science side in terms of programming, with the capstone course on cybersecurity.
Thank you, Tom. And next we have one of our recent graduates, Robert Voss.
Hello, hey guys. I'm Robert Voss. I'm a recent graduate from the district. I just graduated Meadows, is in the class of 2020, and I'm currently attending Harper. And I just started working for the district as I finished the apprenticeship course offered in the district. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone has about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. Just so we kind of know a little more about the structure here, we're going to go ahead and go through the pathways, and then I have some questions We would like this to be as interactive as possible. So if you have a question along the way, we would really like it as if we were in person, we would be doing this in a big gymnasium and you'd be able to raise your hand and ask questions kind of throughout. So we still hope to keep that format. So if you have any questions, I guess we kind of go along, please speak up and we'll be happy to do our best in answering those. So we're going to kind of start here with our information tech and network systems. And I'm going to go ahead and let our instructors kind of walk you through this as they can explain it a lot more thorough than I can.
Tell me, you want me to take this or what do you think?
Yeah, why don't you take this one? This is the hardware side.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks to be.
Yeah, you're the man on this.
Yeah, all right. So again, in District 214, we host at a couple different schools hardware based IT courses. So I teach at Rolling Meadows High School and I host students from Elk Grove and some from Prospect along with Rolling Meadows students. And then my counterpart over at Hersey and Wheeling is Tom Polak, and he also hosts students from Buffalo Grove. And essentially what in our area, we get students usually freshman year, they'll take an IT fundamentals. It's a semester long course. And then they get into what is A+ operating systems. It's called A+ because it's tied into a CompTIA certification exam. So one of the a couple nice things about the pathway for us is that each of the courses in the pathway is not only tied to an IT certification exam. So IT fundamentals is tied to the CompTIA IT fundamentals exam, but both A+ courses we teach are, and then the networking one is, and then our capstone, the advanced networking cybersecurity one is tied to CompTIA Security Plus as well. The other thing that's really nice about it is that they're all offered as dual credit. So every course that the students take, they also get college credit for. So it's really advantageous for them for not only because they're getting industry related certifications, or at least they're attempting to, but they're getting college credit while they're taking our courses. So as I was saying, freshman year, typically what they're going to take is the IT fundamentals and A+ operating systems course where we kind of focus on software. The second year, we typically have a A+ hardware course where we focus on the hardware side more, really kind of dive deep into kind of working inside the machines, computers, mobile devices, things of that nature. And then we have a networking course where we use Cisco curriculum, and the kids are working on, learning how to troubleshoot routers and do things in network enterprise. And then our third year course, the advanced networking cybersecurity course, which we just got dual credit this year through Moraine Valley, is really kind of a deep dive into kind of cybersecurity, and it pushes the kids towards the CompTIA Security Plus exam. And then if we have a student that follows that pathway, typically the fourth year, like Robert or Bob Voss, who is a former student of mine, then we push them towards the apprenticeship program, which can lead to a lot of great things like Robert's kind of talked to you about, and he'll talk to you about in a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you there, Mike. Yeah, so as you can see, it's very thorough pathway. It allows for the students to have a lot of different opportunities. And then and I'm going to lead it right into Robert kind of here, as he just did it. And I'm going to ask him to just explain a little bit more about the apprenticeship program and how that experience was for him himself.
All right. So I started the apprenticeship program my senior year. You basically apply for it when you're a junior, and it takes over kind of like your senior year of high school, and you focus on IT related courses. Personally, I went to Moraine Valley. It's an option that they allow you to take. You can stay at your home school, or you can actually go to Moraine Valley Community College and take the classes there in person with instructors. So the other part is the on-the-job training. You go in to Forest View and you work with Nick Mazza here. and other IT staff that's there, and you get some good on-the-job training, and you learn how to you can apply the skills that you've learned in your classes and see them like actually go into work and how you can use them in a job setting. So most of the apprenticeship is working under Nick and taking classes at Moraine Valley that are focused in the area of IT, specifically cybersecurity, and Moraine Valley actually offers professional certificates like they do at Meadows, but it's through Cisco instead of CompTIA. So you can actually take classes to get a CCNA, which is a professional certification it's a very good certification to have if you're going into the field of IT and networking.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. Next, we'll just kind of go to Nick. As Robert brought up, Nick was kind of his host, and let Nick kind of explain how that experience is, and maybe he can provide even some more insight into that certification and its value.
Sure. Thank you, Seth. Definitely, when last year Kathy presented this opportunity to me, my idea of working in a school district was always to help and benefit the future of the students. And to me, this was a perfect opportunity, not just for me to provide that experience to them, but also have all these students joining me and me showing them what the real world looks like. So when you have when you go to school, for example, and you read and you have these experiences on different classes, it's so great to have that foundation. And once that you step up to a job, you have to apply this knowledge and understand how gather all these ideas together and apply it to a specific problem or issue or project that we have at work. With this partnership program, you get both. You get the school, the courses, and the side of the school, and then also you have the experience that I can provide to them with real life experience, which once they graduate, for example, Bob, that's a perfect example. He went through the courses and he had the experience, and he can put that in the resume, where not only I have the CCNA certification, which is a Cisco entry-level certificate that you prove that you have some basic knowledge of networking, enterprise level networking, but also you can put in your resume that you actually worked with this equipment, which is a step forward and definitely an advantage to get a job.
Awesome, Nick. Thanks for that input.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll kind of lead into SD here, all right, and kind of ask her basically around the experience she's had with hosting students in her business, and how that's really been a benefit to herself and as the business and to the student.
Thank you. So I enjoy hosting students from District 214 because of the type of programs that you guys offer. You have the basics, and for me, those basics include HTML and CSS and some of the core things that you need to know to be a programmer, to create websites and things like that. But you also get some of the other things that I'm not seeing in other places, where you start to learn a little bit about the back end and what drives those sites. Like, part of the work that goes into creating a site is understanding the servers and things that that site's going to sit on, and the capacity that they can handle, and how that site is going to interact, and some of the things you need to be aware of so that that site is secured, so that site is performing optimally and things like that. when I have students from D214, they have some of that through some of your coursework that you guys offer. I am able to take them to a next level by showing them how the things that they have learned in school can be applied, and also share with them some of my experiences for, I have an engineering background. And so I went from engineering to software engineering to more computer science related things. Plus I have a business background. So I've kind of melded those all together. And I show them how just because you're just a technologist and learning all these things, you can then apply those to real world situations. And they help with real world jobs. My clients, I talk to them when I'm getting a student and I say, would you be willing to allow the student to work on your project? And they do. And they have to learn how to communicate with clients to get business requirements, to understand what the goals are for them. We often use primarily use content management systems. And when I say content management systems, those are anything from the proprietary ones that you may have heard about, like Squarespace and Wix and things like that, to some of the open source ones like Joomla, WordPress, and Drupal. We also look at doing custom code using PHP and things of that nature. Does that help?
Definitely. No, and it's just great to, we have a lot of great business partners, and to always continue to have those and provide these opportunities for our students. So that being said, in respect to our time, we're going to go ahead and move on to the other pathway we're going to discuss tonight, just to kind of make sure that we get through everything and have some time at the end to answer any questions. So this is more the cybersecurity side. And Tom Morose is going to kind of lead us through here and kind of help us make sure we understand the ins and outs of this pathway.
Thank you, Seth. Yeah, real quickly here to kind of keep it short on time here, as you can see on the graphic. I know it might be a little hard to read with the font and stuff, but we take a kind of a hard track on computer science in terms on the programming side, coding and problem solving. The way the pathway kind of lays itself out with cybersecurity is more on the software side of things. And so we usually start off with our freshmen that come in. We have a program called Computer Programming Mobile App Development, and we've partnered with Apple and a company called Mobile Makers to develop a curriculum for the kids that actually design running apps on iPads and iPhones using Apple's language Swift. And so as they go through and progress through that, they'll be developing a series of apps. As they move on into 10th grade, the recommendation is either AP Computer Science principles or taking part 2 of mobile apps, where they further move on to designing more robust apps for the Apple platform. Or in principles, they dive in and they start exploring some of the big theory concepts behind computer science. And they explore the programs of either JavaScript or Python in that course. And so right away after the first 2 years, they'll have experience in programming just 2 languages, Swift and possibly Python and JavaScripting. And that's also a college board, so there's a college exam for that as well through AP. In 11th grade, we then recommend Computer Science A, another AP course. Here they spend a lot of time with the language Java. So their third language here they'll be exposed to here. And so the idea is they get a variety of languages as they go through these courses, learning the algorithmic functions of computers and technology. And that kind of leads into our capstone course, College Cybersecurity Mobility. It's a course that primarily focuses more on vulnerabilities, enumeration, hacking, so to speak, in terms of setting up those types of things, in terms of searching. And we go through those, and they are eligible to take the ethical hacking program. It is a college course that's partnered with Moraine Valley. They can get dual credit with 2 courses, 101 and 103 there. And then they can, if they take that also their junior year, they can move into the apprenticeship program, as you just mentioned and heard about here momentarily, and they could explore careers in that realm as well. I know I kind of said a lot there in a short amount of time, but if you got any questions, don't hesitate on asking.
Yes, please. If you have any questions, because this is all, there's a lot to it. So we would appreciate anyone that has any questions, please feel free to push those along either in the chat or you can ask yourself. So, Tom, since we're with you right now, what type of careers would this really kind of open students opportunities to, or expose them at least so they would know if they're interested in?
Oh, the idea behind it is to really open up doors to a lot of different career fields, not just in cybersecurity, but computer science, software development, software engineering, and getting them exposure to as many languages as possible to expose them to the primary skill sets that are needed in all those different careers. And that's one thing we've seen a lot of great success to as students have moved on and we've heard back from them.
Awesome. One of the questions that came across is, what does the DC mean next to the name? That means dual credit. So that's where it's with a secondary partner. Robert, did you happen to take any of these courses?
No, I
Okay.
went straight through the courses that were previously brought up by Mr. Dren.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to SD. SD, how have these students been exposed within your, as a community partner? How have they been able to, how have their skill sets in this pathway in comparison to the other been able to be kind of utilized within your business and your offering of these opportunities to our students?
You're talking about the cybersecurity path?
Kind of the programming as a whole.
Usually the students that come to my office and work with me, they typically will build a site before our time is done. They will go through all of the steps that are needed from, the initial idea from the client to the design, to figuring out the software, to figuring out the implementation, implementing, testing, and then launching. A lot of times we can get through an entire process during the, not the micro sessions, but the longer 10-week sessions. Sometimes the project's bigger and we can't. A lot of times I take ideas from my interns because I like to hear how they view, because to be honest, I'm kind of old. And so I have my own way of looking at things, and my clients may have a different way of looking at it, and to have their input because they are younger and have been exposed to different things. We take all of those experiences and meld them together. I enjoy having them there because of that, and we are able to leverage some of the things that they do in school. One of the first questions that I ask them is the courses that they're taking and which ones they either want to learn more about or ones that maybe they struggle with. And I usually have a project that kind of fits that so that they can continue that educational path.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's go ahead and take this to Nick. Nick, is there any advice or tips that you would, in either pathway, would you provide, be able to provide a student considering entering that field?
Definitely, if once they arrive to the program that I host, it's definitely an advantage because they already have these real world experience. So if you're asking me about the student per se, the student itself, yes, something that really highlights to me when I'm observing some of these candidates is curiosity. Make sure that they have a setup at home and they explore and they're curious about how things work and keep exploring and learning. And definitely how this technology and networking varies is very very broad. So definitely, I'm not sure if Mike, you can chip in on this, but CCNA networking is all live changes. It's really hard to understand how to make a change in a tested scenario, because you'll never know. For example, in our district now, we only have a percentage of the students. So it's really hard to test different changes. So you need to understand what those changes, how those changes can impact the live network and how all that works in the back end. So actually, just like Bob did, even before he joined the cybersecurity internship, he already had set up packet tracer. He was already playing with different networks and different wireless and wire and how this work, VLANs and all kind of things. That's once that he brought that up to me in the interview, I was like, good, this is the person that's going to be more successful on this field.
If I could jump in really quick, Seth, I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Nick. I think as Nick was talking about, one of the things that Tom and I, and everybody really in the district kind of pushes is allowing the kids time to just come into our class and kind of go into a sandbox and just kind of learn and learn a bunch of different things and do as much as they can within the boundary of what District 214 allows us to do with the kids, which can get a little bit hairy sometimes, as Nick probably could tell you. But one of the neat things that we have in the district too is that we offer a couple extracurricular programs. We do something called Cyber Patriot competition, where the kids are tasked at essentially protecting in different operating systems and trying to find like all the different technical issues and kind of how the how it's open and whatnot. And there's like Nick talked about with packet tracer, there's a Cisco component to it that we talk about when we go into networking. And then there's another program called the National Cyber League, which our students compete in as well. And it gives them real world scenarios where they're trying to kind of hack into things and protect things and do things like that. I know Tom, Robert, I should call you Robert, not Bob, but he could probably speak to that as well, because he took part in both of those as well. What do you think, Bob? Yep.
Yeah, Robert, if you can explain those, because those are events that I've been kind of privy to helping host, but I can't tell you the ins and outs of it. So that might be something great to hear from a student perspective.
Yeah, so you've probably heard a lot about the Cyber Patriot. Some middle schools actually host a Cyber Patriot competition, but in high school they actually give you different they give you more advanced tasks. So they would give you more difficult problems. So there's essentially it starts off as 3 different operating systems. You work on like a Windows 10, a Windows 8, and you work on a Linux. So people in the program can kind of expose themselves to the wide array of OSs out there. And then there's also the Cisco part, which is what I mainly worked on with my team. The Cisco one basically uses packet tracer, which I think is it's a really good program that can that lets you use your own computer to virtualize and work with like an entire sandbox environment. They give you like everything you could need. They give you, you can simulate mobile devices, switches, routers. You can go on computers and you can configure all different kinds of settings to simulate a real environment. And then there's also NCL, which the National Cyber League. It gives you more of more practical. I think you can actually learn more from NCL. It gives you a wider, like kind of sort of expansive, like resources that you can learn from. So like it gives you networking. It gives you like intelligence. I think it's more intelligence gathering. Like they give you. There's also a coding part to it too, so it can apply to these AP computer science classes that you work with. There's like a reverse engineering, somewhat of like malware. So, but all of these, I would say if anyone is interested, take part in at least one of these courses and one of these extracurriculars that is offered at schools.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and we all understand there's a lot of ins and outs to this. So if you have any questions to the specific programs, feel free to reach out to us, specifically the division heads for each building. They're always located on our district website and our building websites, but we're able to kind of facilitate that because these kids are doing amazing things everywhere from creating different apps, either on the phone or the watch or and things of that, and they're running actual simulators for them. And then we've even pushed some of them out to our buildings for different clubs. And I know they've done numerous competitions and things of that nature. So there's a lot to it, but we're always willing to help on that. The last thing I'm gonna kind of throw out here is just a question that was in the chat, and that's what I'm trying to facilitate while I'm doing this, is we have a individual that's one that's going to be a junior, one that's going to be a senior, and they're kind of wondering, and they didn't specify what pathway, but where would you kind of start if you're kind of later in your high school career? And I guess this would probably be more for the instructors. Where would you kind of start to make sure you kind of got a very good sample size of the pathway?
Tom, go ahead. I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, depending on the school, their home school, and where they're at, and what their interests are. You know, if they're a junior going to be a senior, is that correct?
There's one of each.
There's one of each. A senior currently now?
Yes. No, going to be a senior, and one that's a sophomore going to be a junior. So probably think about course selection.
Depending on how, you know, if they want to get into the, I always refer to it as the hardware side or the networking side, where you're learning with the interconnectivity of things, so to speak. You know, you can take a series of the courses there, and I believe you can jump in anywhere. Mike, is that correct?
Yeah. You could jump in at any point. And you know, one of the nice things about the pathway for us is that I've had a number of students, like their junior and senior year, take a couple of the courses. So they took IT and they took the A+ hardware concurrently, and you can do that and still get the dual credit. And you know, and if you're interested in taking the advanced networking cybersecurity at our building, you can kind of jump into that as well. You know, if that's kind of what interests you. It's always good to kind of have the background of the previous courses, but you don't need them. You just can't get the dual credit, but you can, you know, take the course if you need to, or if you'd like to.
Yeah, that's correct. And the same thing on the cybersecurity side or the computer science side. The courses are essentially really standalone courses, and they can be taken pretty much in any order. There's really no prerequisite of one versus the other. But as going into an upperclassman, I would recommend kind of maybe bypassing mobile makers, you know, computer science principles, and taking a look at the AP computer science and the college cybersecurity courses and getting into those, because they're going to have the maturity and the better understanding in terms of math to pick those up. And so I would rather say bypass those lower level courses there that you see as a freshman and sophomore. And we've had a lot of students do that where they jump in, and we've had those that are seniors. I currently have two right now that are in AP computer science and college cybersecurity mobility at Buffalo Grove, and they're doing very well in both of them. But they are two different disciplines. You know, the you know, computer science A is really looking at the algorithmic processes that technology takes, and cybersecurity, we're looking at more in terms of enumeration and processes of getting into information, and you know, recognizance and working backwards and reverse thinking. And like Robert had said about the NCL, we spend a lot of time on those components where, you know, we're not necessarily looking at how to connect things in terms of servers and routers and so forth, but we're looking at how to gain access and define and locate information. And so we kind of spend a lot of time on that side.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. One question that came across is about ethical hacking. If I remember correctly, you talked about that, and it's mentioned, it's in the final course of this cybersecurity pathway, correct?
Yep. The Economic Council, that's ethical hacking. We go through a course and a phase, and it's very similar to what Mike talked about, or I think Rob talked about with Packet Tracer and Cisco. We use a program called Test Out, and they have a curriculum and a sandbox environment that is set up very similar to where there's an office environment with computers and various equipment that are there. And the students are then charged with whether it be looking for vulnerabilities, stopping vulnerabilities, and they get to play the role of both the white hat, or that can be the red hat, and the blue hat in terms of offensive and defensive methods. And so once they go through that curriculum, they're eligible to get a voucher to take the exam and sit down with the exam, because they'll have the curriculum there for them.
Great. Yeah. No, I've watched some of it from a outsider's view, and it's pretty amazing what those kids can do. That being said, I'll kind of hang on here for another minute for any questions that get added to the chat, and then I'm going to go ahead and let our other panelists kind of go for a minute, because we have another session after this, so they can go get a quick drink of water and take care of that. But I'll stay on for any questions for a couple more minutes, and then if you're interested and didn't get anything answered, please feel free to reach out to the division heads at each building.
Have a nice night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.